All right. So, as usual, we'll start off with updates and talk about where we're at in the semester and what's going on. Um, so, uh, let's see. Let me just share my screen. All right. So, let's look at the syllabus. All right. So, we are in week 11, I think, already. And um, let's see. So unless you need an extension for some reason, which I granted compassionately, uh, uh, yeah, try to get your suicide assessments in, by the end of the weekend. I'm going to be finish grading the psychological uh, things that you already handed in, the first aid. Um, so I'm going to finish them up this weekend and then I'll start the suicide ones. Um, Next week, uh, I'd like to go over the psychological first aid, just like we did the ACEs. I'll want to provide a couple examples for everybody and talk about them and see if you have any questions in class. Um, so next week will probably the live portion of the class will be psychological first aid and going over some samples and talking about that. And on your own next week, uh, we'll be talking about some chapters from the book, and you'll be doing yoga on your own. Um, so uh, let's see. And then we will have, it says EMDR that week. I kind of go over EMDR tonight, um, but there are some other things I'm talking about that night. It's not just about EMDR. It's probably more about um, those three three chapters from the book. Thanksgiving, no class. Um, and then our last class is 12/4. We don't need a class during finals week. Um, on 11/20, I'll also go over in detail everything you'll need for the paper. You'll have a couple weeks to do that, plenty of time. Um, and let's see what else. Um, yeah. So not a lot of classes left, really. We're wrapping things up. You will have a discussion board uh, this coming week and the following week, since you should be done with your projects. So there's two more discussion boards, well, three. So three discussion boards and a final paper. Um, yeah, so that's not too bad. Um, Applying in self-care revisited. I might delete that self-care one. We'll see. We'll see. We'll see. I don't know if we need three. We might only need two. All right. But you will have one to do this week. So let's look and see what we got going on tonight. All right. So in class tonight, I I'm going to talk in detail about empathy, um, and two things I do for self care. One is called detachment, and I'll talk about that. And the second thing is becoming the observer, and we'll go over those. And yeah, so empathy, detachment, and becoming the observer will be the lecture tonight. But there's a lot online that you're going to be doing on your own. There's a lecture on chapter 15, EMDR, and there's an exercise in that lecture um, where you'll be listening to different sounds from nature and, doing some things for that. Um, there are, this, there's a good article on EMDR, which I think you should read. And I I found this great article on the fluid transport in the brain, which is really um, cerebral spinal fluid washing through the brain as you're in the REM stage, which I think is why EMDR actually works. So you can make those connections. Um, there's a video on creating a ritualistic mandala, a mandala with chanting. They're each only about 15 minutes long, but I thought they were enjoyable. Um, these nature links don't work. I'm going to create a new one. So it will be working by the time you watch this. And then I gave you a choice of some mandalas to color. And here's your little um, your discussion board. So it should be an easy one. It's not like going over what the chapter said or anything like that. It's describing the response to the exercise in the lecture and how did you respond to that. And, share what you feel comfortable. You can share what you wrote if you want. You can share drawings if you want. It's not coloring a mandala. It is a different exercise. And that'll just and respond to your classmates as well. So it should be a fun discussion board, as fun as these things get. So I try to entertain. Um, all right. So let's see. Uh, questions, comments about where we're at, what we've done, what we'll be doing. All right.